Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What's going on, Internet? Eric Van Oltz here, back again with another E-Commerce Conversations. Hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the Internet from me today, I got Finbarr Taylor with Shogun. Welcome, Finbarr.
Hey, thanks very much, Eric. Great to be chatting with you today. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Pleasure's all mine. We met originally back at an E-Commerce Fuel Live event before the whole lockdown started. And he really just blew my mind with how intelligent he was. I didn't comprehend about half the things that you said, but I know it seemed pretty smart. Why don't you give our listeners a little rundown what Shogun is and what you're doing?
Oh, sure, absolutely. You're too kind. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think we really hit it off and had a great dinner together in San Antonio. I'm Finbarr Taylor, CEO and co-founder of Shogun. Shogun creates tools that help merchants sell online and create awesome content. We have two products, Shogun Page Builder, which is a drag and drop tool that's integrated into Shopify, BigCommerce, and some other platforms and helps you augment your existing front end with landing pages and so on. And we have a second product, Shogun Front End, which transforms your storefront into a sub-second progressive web app much faster and with really rich content management tools as well. So we're really in the kind of content management and experience management space, helping a ton of merchants with their stores.
Full disclosure, we're also a Shogun customer. They've helped us out a lot. If I've never heard of you guys and I've got a Shopify store, I can go in there and create a page. I'm like, what value are you actually providing with the page builder? Like, why actually would I need to use you guys versus just the Shopify dashboard?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Shopify has a bunch of really awesome tools, for building great looking storefronts. Shogun just takes some of those tools to the next level. And so you may find that, if you get upset with Shopify and you're using a theme, the theme does everything you need. But you may reach a point where you decide you want to customize something and it doesn't quite meet your needs. And so your options at that point really are to, hire a developer or be a developer yourself and make those changes in code, or go looking for a tool like ours, Shogun Page Builder, which you can kind of get up and running in 30 seconds and drag and drop with much more flexibility and freedom and build all kinds of pages for your store, like landing pages, blog pages, product pages, collection pages, and so on. So it really is just about giving, marketers, merchandisers, non-technical folks the ability to do something pretty technical in an easy drag and drop user interface. And our customers drive millions of dollars a day in sales using our software. It's been pretty successful for a lot of folks.
How does a page builder technology work? Is it essentially creating a new page template in Shopify Liquid or whatever dashboard they're using? Or is it kind of like this JavaScript front end that's creating a page on demand?
Actually, it's somewhere in the middle. So one thing that we've always been really careful about in the way that we've built Page Builder is we've tried to avoid making too many changes to the themes, because the themes can get a little overgrown with a lot of people making changes. And so the way that it works actually is we use the APIs that Shopify has around creating the 4 content types that are prevalent in Shopify. So pages, blogs or blog articles, product pages, and collection pages. And so what we do actually is we push content through the APIs into the body fields of each of those content types. And then for products and collections, we have a special trick where we use meta fields to, push the content in there. But it isn't JavaScript, and it's also not liquid in your theme. It's just pure HTML, which means that your Shopify store is serving up the traffic directly. It's SEO friendly. The code is really clean. And, Shogun is not in the load path for traffic. So, if we have some kind of outage, which is super rare, but has happened before, your pages stay up. Shopify is still serving all the traffic. So that's kind of the architecture of how it works.
Yeah, and that was really like a big concern for me. Is we used way back in the day like VWO, which is a A/B product testing kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
And it was just like they essentially created this, like their own page on their own servers that I don't know technically how it worked. It tremendously slowed down the website. And as an e-commerce company, I feel like one of your duties is to have your website load as fast as possible, like, and be very strategic with the things that you carry on your front end to make sure that the conversions are, they're worth the slowness of speed.
Absolutely. We've seen this firsthand, with our second product, Shogun front end. But, there's a lot of case studies out there where if you reduce the load time on your website, your conversion rate will increase. And, we've seen that very clearly in the results we're driving for early clients, where making it faster means bounce rate goes down, number of pages people are clicking through goes up, conversion rate goes up, ultimately revenue goes up. And so speed is a super important consideration in any e-commerce strategy.
When people are using Page Builder and they upload photographs, is Shogun doing any kind of compression of those photographs, or is it still on the user to nail that?
We absolutely are. So out of the box, when you use the image element in Shogun Page Builder, we are downsampling the image. We're converting it to WebP when possible, which is a really optimized format. We also automatically do lazy loading of images on the page, and we're releasing a new change called adaptive delivery, which is going to make things even faster. But yeah, we are paying close attention to the page speed, and images tend to be one of the heaviest things. It tends to be images and scripts are the two things you need to pay really close attention to. And so with Page Builder, we really minimize on both. And obviously, we still want people to create really rich, beautiful looking pages with a lot of images, but we have strategies in place that mitigate the load on the page of each of those images.
You mentioned adaptive delivery. What is that?
So it's a technology that we use a third-party provider that actually hosts the images. And I can talk at a high level about how the technology works, but they've done some really cool stuff where it will serve you the right size of image and the right quality of image for your specific device. And so it's like a smart layer at the CDN level where, it actually discriminates based on the type of device making the request for the image and gives you exactly the image needed for that device. How it works in detail, I would need to ask them. They're called Upload Care. They've been a great, service provider for us for years now. But it's an innovation that they've come out with, and we're just kind of implementing it into the way that we serve images.
So is that one of those situations where if they go down, that you're losing the images, or is somehow the images still working with Shopify CDN? And
Yes, so they are using a couple of the biggest CDN providers in the world, and they're using Amazon S3 for storage. So, they're a technology company where they've kind of put together this, really their product is, something that makes it easy to upload images and manipulate them. And then they've just kind of configured up some very popular third-party CDNs like Akamai and Fastly and CloudFront. Actually, we're kind of trying out different CDNs with them to see what's going to be the absolute fastest. But if Upload Care goes down, what happens is people can't upload images into Shogun, but all of the existing images that have been uploaded stay live. They're being served out of these massive CDNs where if Akamai goes down, you're going to know about it because half the internet's going to go down. Same thing for CloudFront on Amazon or for Amazon S3. So it's not an outage of Upload Care is not an outage of the websites. It would need to be a much bigger piece of internet going down for there to be anything wrong with the websites.
yeah, and even though I can tell you don't really take comfort in when everyone else's websites are down and yours is too. As an entrepreneur, that's like an opportunity where if everyone was down and you were up. So I don't know if there's any kind of redundancy that you guys built into that or not.
Yeah, it's a tough one. As I said, they actually have several options on the CDN. And so we've been trying out different ones to make sure that we're doing the absolute fastest. I can say that I don't think it's happened in 5 years of doing this and working with them. I think they maybe once had an issue where people couldn't upload new images in Shogun for a period of a couple hours, but that was, once in 5 years, and all the images have just been served with no problem in the whole period of working with them. And so it's a super rare occurrence, and it typically makes national news when one of these providers goes down because it just affects so many people.
Yeah. Keeping on the theme of speed, let's shift to talking about front end and how that works. I think for someone who's completely ignorant with web hosting, kind of give them a rundown of what PWA is and how the technology works.
Absolutely, yeah. So a bunch of folks have, been fairly adventurous in adopting a new technology, which Google kind of proposed in the last few years, called progressive web app technology. And the benefits of progressive web apps are they make your websites way faster. It's kind of like a native mobile application, but running inside of the browser. And I can kind of go into some of the technical details, but people that have done this, and historically it's been very hard to do this. You kind of need to combine 6 different pieces of technology to make a progressive web app storefront. You need two JavaScript frameworks like a React.js, a Vue.js, and something on the back end to do server-side rendering like a Gatsby or a Next.js. You need a CDN that can actually handle doing builds, something like a Netlify or a Vercel, or some kind of custom build pipeline into CloudFront. You need some kind of middleware that's going to pull all the content from your e-commerce platform and actually inject it into that build process. You need some kind of content management system, which is typically a headless CMS like a Contentful or Prismic. And then you also need to write integrations for all the applications that you use. So that's a lot of stuff to do. And it's typically very expensive and very difficult to implement a progressive web app. But the result of kind of putting together all those technologies and rebuilding your website in that way is way faster, it's way more scalable, it works way better on mobile, and your sales will go up. And what we've done with Shogun Front End is we've combined together those 6 different elements. And we've also added a visual drag and drop experience manager that's really friendly to use for non-technical folks, so that you have all the creature comforts of being able to edit your website without writing code. It's not just a website that's being built, it's actually a progressive web app. And the difference between a progressive web app and a website, just going a little bit of the technical detail, the way that PWAs typically work is they're statically pre-rendered, which means that the request from your customers to your website is not hitting a backend database. It's not hitting Shopify or your e-commerce platform. It's just loading pure HTML from the CDN, from the edge, which means it's the fastest possible first load. And then it uses a clever trick where once it's loaded that first load of HTML into the browser, it then loads something like a React or a Vue.js and turns it into a single page application, so that when you're clicking between pages, you have an instantaneous click between pages. And so there's kind of this trick on two sides. Initial trick of pre-rendering makes it super fast on the first load. And then the single page application approach makes every subsequent click instantaneous. So that's actually a fairly comprehensive, I think, technical description of how Shogun Front End works and what progressive web app is and the benefits that you can achieve from them. Also, there's a couple of other things with progressive web apps, like if you build them in a certain way, they can work offline. So somebody can be riding the subway in New York and they hit your website and then they're going through a patch with no signal, but they're still able to browse around and get all the way to adding items to cart. Yeah, it just works way, way better on mobile.
What kind of companies are going to benefit most from that? It seems like it's a little bit higher end solution for like a very entry level e-commerce business.
Yeah, I mean, I think today it's still quite expensive and a bit prohibitive for the mass market to do this. I mean, Shogun Front End even is a kind of higher end offering than Shogun Page Builder. I think that it really starts to justify the costs when you have fairly significant revenue. So, let's say you're doing, $5 million a year of revenue. If you even see a 10% lift in your conversion rate, and a lot of folks have seen even a higher lift from implementing a progressive web app, our first live customer, Nomad, is seen a 25% increase in their e-commerce conversion rate since launch. If you're doing 5 million revenue, even if it was only 10%, that's 500,000 a year extra. And so then, if it's costing you whatever it might be, a few tens of thousands a year to maintain, you're getting a really nice return on investment there. And so what we're trying to do is really democratize access to this technology. We have an awesome product with a live customer and several more going live in the near future. And ultimately, we'd like to make this available to as many people as possible. Today, it's still a higher end product, really great for kind of breakout direct consumer brands, mid-market brands. But over time, I think that, it will be open to a much wider range of people.
Yeah. Is this something that works with Shopify, or you're essentially getting rid of Shopify?
Oh, it absolutely works with Shopify. So essentially, the progressive web app just becomes a replacement for the storefront. We take over everything right up to the point of checkout. We don't touch the checkout at all. The checkout remains your Shopify checkout. And then when you check out, the order obviously is placed in your Shopify store. The whole Shopify backend, everything is still happening in Shopify or BigCommerce. We basically just take over everything right up to that point. And so you're still using Shopify. We support a lot of app integrations. We're building out more every day for kind of the most popular apps, so you can use things like Okendo and Yotpo and Klaviyo and some other really popular providers. We have integrations that we can provide for all of those things.
Okay. Are you seeing a lot of traction with that, or a lot of brands moving that direction? And what's kind of like the ramp up period? How long does it take to get it rolled out?
We started working on this last year, and before we'd even started building the product, we had sold a couple of customers pre-sale. And so we kind of said to them, okay, we're not exactly sure how long it's going to take us to build this thing, but we have a kind of rough idea. And of course, it took us a little longer for first customers. But, now we have a decent number of customers in the pipeline. We're hoping to go live with 3 or 4 more sites, in the next couple of months. And we have a lot of work to do, and we're working towards having a great starting point so that you can actually get up and running in a really short amount of time. We have a goal next year of getting people up and running in as little as 30 days. And over time, we'll be working to even make that down to a week or less. I think, at the moment, the implementation, it basically looks like kind of taking your existing website and rewriting it as React and JSX. And we've kind of simplified the process quite a bit, and we have some starting points for some areas. But, I think the implementations right now, some of them are taking a couple months, some are taking a little bit longer. It just depends on the complexity of the website. But as a company, we are working actively to try and reduce the complexity and the amount of time for each implementation.
Yeah, so you're essentially rebuilding it. Is there no like automation in that or scripts in that? It's just
today it's a rebuild where we will in the future work on some automation that makes it more of a kind of partial import with rebuild. I think especially for page builder customers, we have a lot of customers on page builder. Some of those folks have built most of their websites in page builder. So we'd like to provide a clean upgrade path between the two products where you can use page builder, build a bunch of your pages, and then very simply, hopefully at some point in the future, we have a really easy bridge between them where you can kind of click to move over your page builder content in the front end.
Yeah, let's go back to page builder because I feel like that's going to be something most listeners are going to be able to execute on. What are some unique ways that your customers have been using page builder to increase sales? And I mean, you talk about landing pages, but how are these landing pages built to where they're more effective than kind of like a standard product page?
Yeah, I've seen people do all kinds of things, like collection pages where you can add to cart directly from the collection page. That's a pretty popular method that seems to drive great results. It's really about like kind of reducing the number of steps in the funnel. So if you're thinking about like driving traffic from, for example, a Facebook campaign to your site, you want to have an optimized funnel where there's as few steps as possible to add to cart. And all the information is right there or within a click. And obviously, you want to make that as fast as possible. You want to have as few distractions as possible. So really, the sites that I've seen working the best, they tend to have a couple of things going for them. The merchandising is really beautiful. Great pictures of the products, really tight and crisp writing and storytelling around the products, but not too much other stuff. I think that you definitely can go a little too far with trying to optimize some of the conversion stuff, like too many pop-ups or, too many upsells and that kind of thing going on. I think the initial step of just getting somebody to add that first item to cart, you want to just make that as clean and as simple as possible. With Page Builder, what we've enabled people to do is rapidly iterate on a lot of different ideas very quickly and even A/B test those ideas against one another. And so where before it might have taken time to write things by hand, as a developer, with Page Builder, you can just drag and drop and really quickly build pages. And we have a lot of tooling actually that enables developers even to work very closely with Page Builder. And you can do things like make your own custom drag and drop elements that perfectly match the styling of your brand. So we work with some of the biggest brands on Shopify and they're using Page Builder very successfully. You wouldn't actually know looking at a page builder page that it was built with page builder because they're so seamless, and there's a lot of major stores out there where essentially their whole site is built using the product. But my best advice is keep things simple, beautiful, and easy to add to cart. And from there, if you have a compelling product, you should see some pretty great results.
You talked a little bit about A/B testing. Now, I want to think of Shogun as like an A/B testing resource. Are you guys providing like analytics and data in that, or is it just simply allowing you to build two variants and kind of test it with your own statistical analysis?
Yeah, so actually we do have both. So, you could, if you wanted to, just build several different pages in Shogun and then publish them all and then drive traffic against different pages. Split an ad test, for example, in Facebook and drive traffic against multiple pages. People have done that very successfully, and obviously they're able to use their own analytics tools for that. We also have a feature built into Shogun Page Builder where you can build a page and then you can click a button to start an A/B test, and it splits the page into two variants, and you can make any change you want to each of the variants, and you choose a goal that you want to try and optimize towards, whether it's add to carts, whether it's sales, whether it's a click-through to some particular URL. And you can publish out that change, and it page lives on a single URL in your store. And we are tracking those key metrics for the page that you publish. And we even have a mode where you can have, we call it autopilot mode, where it will run a 50-50 test or whichever split that you would like. And it runs the test until there's enough data to make a statistically significant decision about which variant performed better. And depending on how big of an impact the change had and how much traffic you have, you might get an answer in as little as a day, or it might take a little longer, depending on those factors.
Now, these are going to be more like design changes and not like pricing changes, right? Or can you do like product pricing in there as well?
I have seen people actually find workarounds to do product pricing tests. The way to do that would be to make a landing page in Page Builder where it has an add to cart button for a specific product. And then in Shopify or your backend, you would have a second product, which is very similar to the first one, probably the same name, just a different price. And then you make an A/B test where in the variant, you have also a product box with pulling in your product information from Shopify, including the add to cart, but then it's obviously different pricing. So there are ways that you could run a pricing test using the software if you were so inclined. But I think for the most part, what I've seen people do is design tests, moving elements around, different imagery, just testing simpler changes. Obviously, pricing is a pretty simple and high leverage thing that you can change. So definitely recommend testing pricing. We as a business have seen that pricing tests are extremely high leverage.
Now, you guys got a big old check a few months ago, right?
We did indeed, yes.
What's the future for Shogun? Like, what do you want to do with all that capital?
Yeah, so we raised a $35 million Series B investment led by Accel. They have been absolutely awesome to work with. And really what we're doing with the money is doubling down on our R&D efforts and also kind of building a go-to-market motion for Shogun Frontend. So historically, our business, Shogun Page Builder, has been almost entirely self-serve, inbound, some kind of content marketing led growth, but we haven't really actively gone out and tried to sell it. It's a very simple, affordable product, and it's kind of sold itself. It's just been awesome. But Shogun Frontend is a newer product, requires a little explanation and education around kind of the benefits of progressive web apps and how they work. And so the go-to-market motion for Shogun Frontend is a little different. It requires a sales process, or it has for us so far. And so we are, for the first time, really building out proper sales team, marketing team. We're hiring senior leadership in those areas. And we are really rapidly increasing the size of our engineering, design, product teams internally as well. And, the way that we've always run our business, Shogun Page Builder does really well, and we try and tack close to profitability, and we're not kind of dependent on the new capital, but it just enables us to move a little faster and be a bit more aggressive on the hiring, where we otherwise might have had to wait a little to allow revenue to catch up with our hiring goals. So that's what we're using it for, R&D and go to market pretty much.
Yeah, your team's gotten pretty big.
It has. Yeah, I think we're now 84 or 85 people. So we're pretty soon be crossing the 100 mark, which is awesome. And we're, hiring for a lot of different roles right now: engineering, design, product management, and of course, support, sales, and some operational roles internally as well. So really kind of across the board of the company, we're hiring, and I think that we will probably double in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I would imagine you go down the routes of raising capital. The exit is selling the business in most cases. Is that what you guys are intending to do, or are you guys looking to like IPO down the future and really have like a larger, more grandiose vision for a sustained independent company?
I get asked this question often as I'm talking to different candidates, and I have two parts to this answer. The first part is my co-founder, Nick, and we're in absolutely no rush to be, selling the business or getting some kind of exit. I moved from Scotland to Silicon Valley 9 years ago, and I did so with the express intent of coming here and trying to start a tech company and build something. And now I'm doing it, and I'm having the time of my life, and I'm really in no rush to stop doing what I'm doing. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing. And our investors are not pushing us in any way to try and sell the company or get a quick return or anything like this. They're very patient. They're in it for the long haul. They're backing us. They're behind us, and they're just great folks. But on the other side, when you raise money, at some point, those investors are going to want a return. And the more money that you raise, actually, the fewer options you have in terms of what you can do with your business. Like, we're now at this point where we couldn't really just stay being this private, profitable company forever. The investors are going to want to see a return. And so I think that there's kind of four options for what might happen with Shogun in the long run. We're not really optimizing, towards this happening anytime soon. But the four options that we consider are: We could IPO this business. I think e-commerce is an absolutely massive industry and we've barely scratched the surface of it. And, we're already helping our customers make millions of dollars every day. We think it could get much bigger than that, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars a day. So, we have pretty big ambitions about the scale that we can get to. And so IPO could be a possibility. I'm both terrified and excited about that prospect. I think having a public company would be super stressful, but it'd also be pretty cool. It's something that not many folks get to experience. So IPO could be an option for us. Second option could be maybe someday we get acquired by some large company in the space. There are a whole bunch of big companies in this space. And so, but again, not something that I'm optimizing for on any short timeline. Another option that can happen with these kind of companies is you have a kind of private equity liquidation event where some PE firm, they want to take a stake in your business, or potentially a majority or even an entire stake, which that happens. In my mind, at this moment in time, I'm not the keenest on that idea because I think often in those situations, there's just a lot of kind of short-term pressure to increase and they're kind of looking for a quick return on their money. And so it's just not necessarily the best alignment. And then I think the fourth outcome, which I think you always have to acknowledge with startup companies, is we might just fail outright. And clearly that's my least preferred outcome. And things are going really well right now. And we have a ton of great customers, a lot of great traction. And certainly that's not even on the horizon in terms of something that we foresee. But I think you have to acknowledge that as a possible outcome in this type of business.
Yeah, that's kind of a scary thing to think about as a customer. Like, what would happen to our store if we built out so many, pages on Page Builder and our vendor goes out of business?
It's a very fair question. And in e-commerce, stores use a lot of different apps typically to kind of build up their store and, get what they need. I think for us, if I look at our trajectory and our runway, we essentially have infinite runway right now. We spend so little money per month and we have so much money in the bank that it's just not even a specter on the horizon for us right now. But, I think if the worst came to the worst, if somehow we ended up going out of business and we have people that have built a lot of pages using our software, first of all, we'd give them a really long heads up. We'd know way ahead of time it was going to happen. We always watch the numbers. We're super close to the business. This really is a startup business with emphasis on the word business. It's sustainable. It's long-term. It's not something we're looking to make a quick buck on and get out of. So we would know way ahead of time and be able to give people a big heads up if that was ever going to happen. The second thing is with Page Builder, due to the nature of how it works, the pages that you create are actually stored inside of Shopify or BigCommerce. And so if Shogun just suddenly disappeared, you would still have all those pages. All the content you've created still lives there. There wouldn't be a loss of what you've already created. You'd still have all of that. And then, for Shogun front end, there's a way that we could export all the built sites as, applications that people could then edit. So I think it's as with all tools and as with all SaaS that you might adopt in your business, there's some amount of risk where the vendor might change what they're doing or, in the worst case scenario might go out of business. But I think we do a pretty good job of providing a way to kind of export or, take your content with you. But again, definitely not the scenario that I'm hoping for. And I don't see that in the near future.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to go back and kind of share how Beard Brand is using Shogun. We have single products like a beard oil, and we have 6 different variants of it, 6 different fragrances. And what we found challenging to do is when you have a catalog page, it would just pick like the first variant. So you didn't really have control over what product was being displayed. So very easily, we use Page Builder to create fragrance pages. And they're all linking to the same product, but it's able to pull in the variant imagery. So we have these new landing pages that really help people shop the fragrances. And in addition to that, we've been using bundling services. So if you buy 3, the 4th one is on us. Or if you buy 7 of them, then 2 of them are on us. So that kind of like logic wasn't really possible without Shogun. So it's been a big benefit to the growth of our business this year. And it's something that we're happy to use. And I'm happy that you took the time out of your day to come on and kind of like share more of the behind the scenes or just kind of how the pudding is made, whatever that saying is. Where can people learn more about you or learn more about Shogun?
First of all, thanks so much for being a great customer and for the opportunity to come and chat with you today. I really appreciate it. If you're interested in learning more, our website is getshogun.com, G-E-T, Shogun, S-H-O-G-U-N.com. You can also search for, Shogun and then the name of your e-commerce platform. And we have integrations into several platforms and are looking at others. And so that would be the best place to learn more. Always happy to be chatting e-commerce. So thanks again for the opportunity, Eric.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I didn't get paid to say all those things. So... All right, man. Well, thanks for being on the show. Hopefully our customers learned a thing or two. As always, thanks for listening. Cheers. Keep on growing.